Today we're going to look at 20 games from 2010s that I believe you should try at least once if you haven't already. More importantly, I'm going to explain exactly why you should check them out right now, especially if you're someone who has very little time to play games. It's a subjective list, so feel free to add your own favorite games down below. Also, they are in no specific order, so yeah, let's get into it.
What's it matter? Only ever thought of you.
Let's start off with Mass Effect 2, widely considered one of the greatest video games ever made. I remember when I first played this game back in 2010, I was a bit overwhelmed. Like, there were so many dialogues and every choice you made actually mattered. So the story kicks off with Commander Shepard's ship, the Normandy, which is destroyed, and he's literally brought back from the dead by the Cerberus. Shepard has to team up and investigate the Reapers and the Collectors who are abducting entire human colonies. The gameplay was also a big step up from the first one. And then there's the suicide mission at the end of the game. You spend the entire campaign recruiting some of the best companions in gaming history, like Garrus, Tali, Mordin, and Jack. Every single choice you make, every ship upgrade you buy, kinda determines who actually survives the final mission. If you're a busy person, you absolutely need to play this. The main story takes about 30 to 35 hours if you do the bare minimum, which is kinda the perfect length. It respects your time because every single side mission actually matters. Just imagine putting like 30 hours into a game and then losing your favorite companion just because you forgot to upgrade the ship's armor or something. It's pretty thrilling, which is why people still love it. Moving on to something completely different, we have Portal 2, released by Valve in 2011. I actually didn't like this game when it first came out, but I picked it up a year later because of all that peer pressure, and honestly, I was kinda hooked. The writing is incredibly sharp, acting as a brilliant corporate satire as you plunge deep into the abandoned 1970s test chambers. The gameplay is a masterclass in puzzle design. You use that iconic portal gun to link two surfaces together, preserving your momentum as you fling yourself across massive chasms. The puzzles here might look intimidating at first, but they are designed so intuitively that you feel like a genius when you finally solve them. For someone with very little free time, Portal 2 is an absolute godsend. The campaign is only about 9 to 10 hours long, and there's absolutely zero filler content. It's a perfectly paced, wildly entertaining weekend play.
Don't even look at anything else. Just, well, obviously you've got to look at everything else to find the escape pod, but as soon as you look...
Next up, it's just pure adrenaline. When they rebooted Doom in 2016, nobody actually expected it to be as revolutionary as it was. The story is intentionally simple, but the lore is actually super deep if you go looking for it. You play as the Doomslayer who wakes up on a massive UAC facility on Mars that has been completely overrun by demons from hell. Instead of hiding behind cover and waiting for your health to regenerate, the game forces you to be hyper-aggressive with a really fun glory kill system. When you stagger an enemy, they glow, allowing you to perform a brutal melee execution. And this rewards you with massive health drops, meaning the only way to survive is to literally push forward into the chaos. And then there's that phenomenal industrial metal soundtrack. If your gaming time is seriously limited to maybe like 30 minutes a night after a long day at work, then Doom is the ultimate stress reliever. The campaign is about 11 to 12 hours of pure action. You don't have to worry about complex dialogues or slow walking sections. You just jump in, blast heavy metal, and slay demons. Okay, let's slow things down and talk about a game that will absolutely break your heart. Telltale Games released The Walking Dead in 2012, and it kinda redefined narrative adventure games. You play as Lee Everett, a man who is on his way to prison when the zombie apocalypse hit. He finds redemption by taking care of a little girl named Clementine who has been separated from her parents. The relationship between them is the emotional core of the game here, and watching Lee try to teach her how to survive while maintaining her humanity is incredibly moving. The gameplay is vastly different from everything else here on this list. The challenge actually comes from the agonizing moral choices you have to make under a strict timer. The choices you make don't drastically alter the final plot, but they fundamentally change how the characters perceive you and who survives the journey alongside you. So why is this perfect for busy people? Well, the game is broken down into 5 episodes mimicking a TV show with a total runtime of around 13 plus hours, meaning you can easily try to play an episode per night.
You okay?
Just great, thanks.
Don't worry.
Now, let's head into the dark, claustrophobic tunnels of post-apocalyptic Moscow. Developed by 4A Games in 2013, Metro Last Light is a brilliant mix of survival horror and stealth shooter. This is, hands down, my favorite Metro game, even more than Metro Exodus. You play as Artyom, a ranger trying to navigate the complex political factions of the Metro while trying to find the last surviving member of a mysterious mutant race known as the Dark Ones. It also has a hidden morality system. The game constantly tracks your karma, but it never explicitly tells you. You earn moral points for listening to civilian conversations, exploring hidden areas, playing stealthily, and showing mercy to enemies. The gameplay is incredibly tense, like you even got to manually wipe blood off your gas mask and use military-grade bullets as actual currency to buy supplies. At around 10 hours for the main campaign, it's an incredibly tight and an immersive experience. It pulls you into its terrifying atmosphere and keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. Stop watching this video and just go play this game right now.
Don't kill me, please.
Moving on to a massive RPG, The Witcher 3 again, widely considered the greatest fantasy game of the decade, and for good reason. You play as Geralt of Rivia, who's searching the war-torn gritty continent for Ciri before the Wild Hunt can capture her. The only thing I would say this game lacks is a good combat system. It feels dated now. But it's more than enough to keep you engaged because you really play this game for its brilliant quests and writing. Even the smallest, most insignificant side quest can spiral into an hours-long narrative masterpiece. Take the Bloody Baron questline for example. What starts as a simple missing persons case evolves into a deeply tragic, morally grey exploration of domestic abuse, alcoholism, and regret. There are rarely any simple good or evil choices. You usually have to pick the lesser of two evils, and the game will remind you of the consequences hours later. Yes, the main story will take you in upwards of 50 to 55 hours to complete, but here's why it works. You can easily jump in for like 45 minutes, complete a deeply satisfying, self-contained monster contract or a side quest, and still feel like you accomplished something meaningful. It respects your intelligence and never fills the map with mindless busy work.
As soon as we learn anything.
Remedy Entertainment truly outdid themselves with Control in 2019. You play as Jesse Faden, who walks into the Federal Bureau of Control in New York looking for her missing brother. It's a secret government agency inside a shape-shifting skyscraper called the Oldest House. When she arrives, she finds the building locked down and invaded by an interdimensional force called the Hiss. She picks up a mysterious service weapon and becomes the new director. The combat mechanics here are a blast. The service weapon is like a supernatural gun that shapeshifts into a pistol, a shotgun, or even a sniper. But the real fun is when you combine all this with her telekinetic powers. You can rip chunks of concrete out of the wall and hurl them at enemies. It even explicitly connects its lore to the Alan Wake universe in its DLC. The main story wraps up in about 11 to 15 hours. It's a tight paranormal and an incredibly fun third-person action game without demanding a massive time sink. You simply can't talk about the 2010s without talking about Skyrim. You play as a Dragonborn, a prophesied hero who can absorb the souls of dragons to perform powerful magic called shouts. Your main quest is to defeat the World Eater, but let's be real, most of us spent hundreds of hours just wandering the snowy peaks, stealing sweet rolls, and becoming the head of the Thieves Guild. I don't think I ever finished the campaign, to be honest. The beauty of Skyrim is its unparalleled freedom. The game lets you be anything you want, a stealth archer, a heavy armor mage, or a dual-wielding berserker. The environmental storytelling is also phenomenal. Like, you can just walk into any unmarked cave and uncover an entire tragic backstory just by looking at the placement of skeletons and reading some journal entries. And thanks to the Anniversary Edition and a thriving modding community, you can add entirely new quest lines, better graphics, and crazy new weapons to the game. Yes, it can absolutely take you 100 hours if you want it to, but for a busy person, it's the ultimate sandbox to just zone out in. You can boot it up, explore a single dungeon for like 20 to 30 minutes, and then log off feeling satisfied. Rockstar dropped a masterpiece in 2018 with the RDR2. It follows Arthur Morgan and the gang constantly on the run. The narrative is a profound, tragic character study about loyalty, morality, and realizing that the world has moved past you. Arthur's personal journey is, without a doubt, one of the most well-written character arcs in gaming history. Yes, the gameplay is notoriously slow, but it's deliberate, and that is exactly why it's so brilliant. I actually didn't play this game when it came out because I read somewhere that it's a painfully slow game, but I was so wrong. Yes, every action requires a specific animation. Want to loot a body? Arthur bends down and pats their pockets. Want a cup of coffee? You have to brew it at your camp. You even have to regularly clean your revolvers and brush your horse. But this intense focus on realism forces you to slow down and truly inhabit the world with an ecosystem that is so detailed. Animals hunt each other, weather impacts your stamina, and NPCs have daily routines. It's not a game you rush through, and it takes like 50 to 80 hours to beat the main story. Play it slowly, do one mission a night, go fishing, just exist in its world. It's cinematic and it demands patience but rewards you with an absolutely unforgettable experience. Next up is Fallout New Vegas, made by Obsidian, not Bethesda, the same guys who made Outer Worlds and Avowed. Despite its rushed development, it's considered the absolute best modern Fallout game ever made. It's way better than the newer Fallout 4 in my opinion. The gameplay still holds up pretty well. The faction system is incredibly deep. The game rarely forces you into a simple good versus evil choice. You can actually talk your way out of many fights, use disguises to infiltrate enemy camps, or just shoot everyone. Now, because it was rushed, the original launch was incredibly buggy. However, the modding community has completely fixed the game. If you follow the Viva New Vegas modding guide, you can easily install essential stability fixes and some graphics updates that make the game run much better. Taking around 65 hours for a thorough playthrough, it's a brilliant game for people who want actual consequences for their dialogue choices. In 2018, Santa Monica pulled off one of the greatest franchise reboots in gaming history. They took Kratos, a character known solely for screaming and ripping Greek gods in half, and dropped him into Norse mythology as an older, grieving father trying to raise his son, Atreus. I was highly skeptical when they first showed it off. I thought it was going to become another generic third-person hack and slash. But I'm so glad they actually pulled it off. The story revolves around their journey to scatter the ashes of Kratos' late wife from the highest peak in the 9 realms. Along the way, Kratos struggles to hide his violent past from Atreus while constantly clashing with other Norse gods. The gameplay is phenomenal. It feels incredibly weighty and satisfying. The entire 20 to 25 hour game is presented in a single continuous camera shot. There are 0 cuts and no loading screens. It creates an unparalleled level of immersion. For busy gamers, God of War is an essential play. The narrative is deeply mature, exploring themes of fatherhood and breaking the cycle of violence. It's perfectly paced, offering pure action without wasting your time on an endless grind. What else can be said about GTA 5 at this point? Released in 2013, yes, it's a really old game now. Set in Los Santos, a parody of Los Angeles, the story centers around 3 very different protagonists. You have Michael, a retired bank robber having a midlife crisis, Franklin, a young gangbanger trying to move up in the world, and Trevor, an absolutely unhinged, violent psychopath. The best mechanic in the game is the ability to instantly switch between these 3 characters in real time, which is actually utilized perfectly during those massive heist missions. You might be flying a helicopter as Trevor, and with the tap of a button, you are suddenly providing sniper cover as Michael or driving the getaway car as Franklin. It keeps the gameplay incredibly dynamic and ensures you're always in the center of the action. The satirical writing is sharp, taking aim at celebrity culture, social media, and modern American excess. Even though it's over a decade old, it still kinda holds up. Alright, let's talk about a game that will absolutely test your reflexes and your sanity. I still can't believe we don't have another Bloodborne game yet. You play as a hunter navigating the streets of a city plagued by an endemic illness that turns citizens into horrific beasts. About halfway through the game, the story takes a massive twist, which I'm not gonna spoil for people who still haven't played it. If you've played Dark Souls, you know the combat is usually about hiding behind a shield and waiting for an opening. But Bloodborne completely flips the script here. So now when you take damage, you have like a brief window to aggressively attack the enemy to win your lost health back. It kinda forces you to be a bit more aggressive. The main story takes about 35 to 45 hours. While it is notoriously difficult, it's incredibly rewarding. Finally conquering a boss that has been kicking your teeth in for 3 days is one of the most euphoric feelings in gaming. Next up is Far Cry 3, a game that practically wrote the blueprint for every modern open-world shooter. You play as Jason Brody, a spoiled, wealthy kid who goes skydiving with his friends on an island, only to be captured by a gang of heavily armed pirates. You manage to escape, and then it's all about teaming up with a local tribe to learn jungle warfare to save your friends. I'm sure you all know its villain Voss, played brilliantly by Michael Mando. This is actually my favorite Far Cry game, right after Far Cry 2. For me, this has the best setting and the story, and it doesn't drag on for too long. The gameplay is still pretty solid, and overall, it's a wonderful game. If you could only play one Far Cry game in your life, then this is the one. The gameplay loop of hunting animals to craft larger ammo pouches and using a bow to silently liberate enemy outposts is still kinda addictive today, and even more so in this one. At around 15 to 20 hours long, it's fast, explosive, and features a surprisingly deep psychological narrative that makes you question your own actions as a player. By 2017, the whole Resident Evil franchise was completely lost. So, Capcom decided to strip it all down and return to the pure horror genre with the RE7. It follows Ethan Winters, an average guy looking for his missing wife at a plantation in rural Louisiana. Unfortunately, the plantation is owned by the Baker family, who are deeply psychotic and heavily mutated by a fungal bioweapon. The genius move here was shifting to strictly a first-person perspective. It completely changes the tension, severely limiting your vision so you never quite know what's lurking in the corner. It abandons fast-paced action and forces you into agonizing resource management. You're constantly counting your bullets and deciding if you should use the chemical fluid to craft a health potion or shotgun ammo. And being stalked through the house by Jack Baker, who can smash right through the walls, is an absolutely terrifying experience. Here's why you need to play it. It's only about 9 to 11 hours long. There's no fluff, no useless side quests, and no grinding. It's a tightly crafted survival horror experience that you can knock out in a few terrifying evenings.
No more bullshit, Mia. I want some answers.
I know, you're right, and I always wanted to tell you, but I can only remember a little and the rest is just gone.
Daddy, right?
Irrational Games took us from the bottom of the ocean straight into the clouds with BioShock Infinite in 2013. The game takes place in 1912 in a floating city of Colombia. On the surface, the city looks like a beautiful utopia of American exceptionalism, but it hides a deeply rotten core of religious fanaticism, xenophobia, and racism. You play as Booker DeWitt, a disgraced detective sent to Colombia to rescue a young woman named Elizabeth to wipe away his gambling debts. What makes this game so legendary is Elizabeth. The developers created one of the greatest AI companions in gaming history. In the middle of intense firefights, she'll scavenge for ammo, health kits, tossing them to you right when you need them the most. The combat here is a blast, mixing traditional guns with magical powers called Vigors. It's only about 11 hours long, but it packs a massive punch. The ending of this game is absolutely mind-blowing, dealing with alternate timelines. It's an essential play for anyone who wants a fast-paced shooter wrapped around a highly intellectual cinematic story.
I never even heard of this place before I got here.
Days Gone, released by Ben's studio in 2019, had a bit of a rocky launch, but it has a cult following now. When it came out, it got pretty average reviews, and a lot of people actually skipped this one, including me. I only tried it recently and had a great time. I mean, yeah, it isn't doing anything entirely new, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game. It's a pretty solid one, and I believe more people need to give this one a try. You play as Deacon St. John, a biker trying to survive the rugged wilderness 2 years after a pandemic turned people into zombie-like creatures called freakers. Deacon is searching for clues about his wife, who he believes might still be alive. What makes this game kinda unique is the motorbike, and it's essentially your best friend. You have to actively scavenge for scrap metal to repair it, manage your fuel consumption, and upgrade its engine and tires to stay one step ahead of the zombies. Then there are the hordes. The game can render hundreds of freakers on screen at once, moving like a fluid, terrifying wave of death. Defeating them requires laying traps, funneling them into explosive choke points, and of course, running for your life. It's a bit of a slow burn, clocking in at around 35 to 40 hours, but the progression is fantastic. You start as a terrified survivor with a weak gun, and by the end you are a tactical master taking down armies of infected. It's highly immersive and totally worth the ride.
Yeah, well, Coke kind of frowns on that. Not a fan of it myself, if you want to know the truth. Give drifters a bad name.
Ghost of Tsushima from Sucker Punch serves as the ultimate culmination of 2010's open-world design. I absolutely love this game. It's one of those games where I tried to do as much side activities as possible. The whole vibe of the game is just amazing. You play as Jin Sakai, one of the last surviving samurai on the island of Tsushima during the brutal Mongol invasion. Jin faces a massive moral dilemma. Does he fight with honor and face his enemies head-on like a samurai, or does he adopt the stealthy but dishonorable tactics of the ghost to save his home? The game is visually staggering, but its most brilliant design choice is the guiding wind mechanic. Instead of cluttering the screen with a busy-looking minimap, a wind blows through the trees and grass to guide you to your destination. This keeps your eyes on its stunning world instead of staring at a compass. The combat is elegant and lethal, where you switch between different stances to counter swords, shields, and spears. The main story takes about 25 to 50 hours depending on how much you explore, and it is incredibly respectful of your time. If you love games that let you experiment and play exactly how you want, then Dishonored 2 is for you. You play as either the deposed Empress Emily or her royal protector Corvo, fighting to reclaim the throne from a supernatural usurper. Its gameplay is a really nice blend of stealth, combat, and crazy supernatural abilities like teleportation and mind control. But what you really need to know about Dishonored 2 is its level design. It is simply amazing. There is a mission called the Clockwork Mansion, where the entire mansion is a mechanical puzzle box. You pull levers and the floors literally drop away, walls shift, and new rooms appear out of nowhere. Later, in a level called A Crack in the Slab, you lose your magic powers but get a timepiece that lets you look into the past. You can seamlessly jump between a ruined present and a pristine past to sneak up on guards or alter reality. The campaign is only about 15 hours long, making it super accessible. Because you can play entirely without killing anyone or go on a full supernatural rampage, the replayability is off the charts.
Wait, did someone just call me? I've been forgetting things. The Crown Killer is an interesting case. I feel almost sure I could help with that.
Let's wrap this up with a psychological thriller that is perfect for anyone short on time. It came out in 2010 and it's essentially a Stephen King novel brought to life. You play as Alan Wake, a best-selling crime author with a terrible writer's block. He goes on a vacation to Bright Falls, only to discover that the dark, horrific events of a novel he doesn't even remember writing are coming to life and attacking him. The lore is incredibly deep, involving a mysterious dark presence that lives in Cauldron Lake and a past writer named Thomas Zane who tried to use the lake's power to rewrite reality. The gameplay revolves around a light-based combat system. The enemies are possessed by darkness, and your bullets can't hurt them until you use your flashlight to literally burn away their darkness. You're constantly scrounging for batteries, flares, and ammo in the terrifying woods. But here's why it is absolutely perfect for busy people. The game is structured exactly like a TV show. It is broken down into 6 episodes, complete with cliffhangers and recaps. You can try to play an episode a night for a week and experience an amazing 11 to 15 hour thriller. If you enjoyed this, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more, and let me know in the comments which of these games you're going to play this weekend. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you in the next one.